All right, everyone. Hi, and welcome to today's session, which is called Time and Task Management Learning Effective Strategies to Prioritize, Plan, and Execute Your Daily, Weekly, and Long Term Goals. My name is Amna Chandna, and I'm one of the Education USA advisors in the Education USA Karachi office. I graduated from the University of Maryland with a Bachelor of Arts degree in economics, and today I will be talking to you about different ways in which you can better utilize one of the most important resources that you have at your disposal, which is your time. But before we begin with today's session, I would just like to tell you a little bit about who we are and what we do. So, Education USA is a part of the US Department of State network. We have more than 470 400, more than 430 international student advising centers in more than 170 countries all over the world. Education USA in Pakistan provides free educational advising services to Pakistani students who are interested in pursuing their bachelor's, master's, or PhD in the United States. Education USA does have a team which is trained by the US State Department itself. So we have a team of US graduates. We have completely free services, and we are more than happy to help you out with any part of the US applications process. So regardless of which part of the process you're in, whether it's looking for different colleges to looking for different scholarships to queries about US student visas, or just getting ready to leave for your degree and wanting advice with that regard, we are here to help, and we'd be more than happy to assist you. And we are a free resource, so we do encourage that you reach out to us and you benefit from our free advising services. Here is our application. It's like WhatsApp. You can use this to get in touch with us Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. We've got the QR codes for the iPhone and Android apps, so if you could just scan this QR code or take a picture, you can download our application, reach out to us. You can also reach out to us via email or by phone call, and we'd be more than happy to assist you. Now, this is basically the entire US applications process broken down into 5 simple steps for you, because at a glance it can seem quite daunting, and that's why the Education USA team has simplified this entire process and broken it down into 5 simple steps. As you can see, the first and most important step for the entire process is research. So researching the different universities and the different programs that you're interested in applying to is the most important part of this entire applications process. The better your quality of research, the more satisfied you are with your eventual decision, which is why, once again, if you have any queries regarding where to start looking for different universities or how to find out about more details, feel free to send us an email at karachi@educationusa.org, and we'd be more than happy to help you. The second step of this entire process is financing your studies. So, financing is a very important part of the entire process, and it goes hand in hand with research. While you are looking for different universities, you should also keep your budget in mind and the cost of that university, the cost of attendance in mind, to ensure that you apply to universities where you can actually attend. Because at the end of the day, the goal is not just to get admitted, it is also to be able to attend that university. Thirdly, we have the third step, which is completing your application. Once you've done your research, once you've looked for the scholarships and the funding opportunities, and you know which universities are within your budget, you go ahead and you complete your application. Step 4 is applying for your student visa. So once you've submitted your applications and you've been accepted, you apply for your student visa. And step 5 is finally just getting ready to leave and start studying in the United States. So regardless of which step you are on in this entire 5-step process, which part of this horizontal trajectory you're on, we are here to help you, and we would be more than happy to assist you, like I said, with any of or all of these 5 steps. So, that being said, let's move on to today's topic. Like I said, time is one of the most invaluable resources that you have at your disposal, which is why it's so important to harness this resource optimally and to make sure that you are maximally utilizing the time that you have available and doing justice to not only how you use your time, but also how you manage your tasks and your other personal, academic, extracurricular commitments, to ensure that you're not falling behind, you're always ahead of the deadlines, you're not procrastinating, and you are getting the best possible results that you can in every arena of your life. So here are just a few inspirational quotes to get you started about why it's so important to know how to manage your time and your tasks that you have on your calendar. So let's read the first one. The key is not spending time, but in investing it, right? When Stephen Covey said this. Basically, what they were referring to was that it's not just about spending your time or how you spend your time. The question is, how are you investing it? So it's again, it's because time is like currency, time is like money. Like they say, you need to make sure that you are using your day to invest in not just your present but also your future, right? Wherever you see yourself in 5, 10, 15 years from today, you already need to start working on it, right? And we have another quote from Peter Drucker here, which says, until we can manage time, we can manage nothing else. So we need to start with really taking control of our schedule, intentionally figuring out how we want to spend every hour of every day that we have, because every day is a gift and you need to use it to the best possible capacity. Thirdly, let's look at what Bruce Lee said. He said, if you love life, don't waste time, because time is what life is made up of. Right? So, somebody as successful, as famous, as accomplished as Bruce Lee is saying that if you honestly love life, then you have to love how you use your time. Because if you don't use your time properly, you're basically wasting not just your time, but also your entire life away. There's another one here. Your future is created by what you do today, not tomorrow. So, oftentimes, a lot of us think, okay, this is something that I want to do in the future. For example, let's say you want to learn how to speak a new language, and you're thinking, oh, I'll do this in 5 years, or I'll do this 10 years later, or 5 years later, I wish I would be fluent in French. Well, if you're not spending at least 1 hour a day learning French right now, believe me, even 5 years later, you wouldn't have mastered the language. So at the end of the day, your future is only a summation of what your present looks like, what your today looks like. So make sure you are intentional with how you are using your time and you are investing in those activities that you want in your future self. Right. And finally, let's look at the last bottom one. Productivity is never an accident. It's always the result of a commitment to excellence, intelligent planning, and focused effort. Paul Meyer said this quotation, and basically, what this is telling you is attending webinars like today's or being a part of sessions where you learn how to better utilize your time and your other resources is intentional commitment to making sure that you excel at everything that you are setting your mind to. It's also intelligent planning, because you are at the end of the day making a focused effort and planning carefully how you do everything that you do. And at the end of the day, it's up to you how you harness the resources at your disposal. So like Charles Richard said, don't be fooled by the calendar. There are only as many days in the year as you make use of. We might think that we're in May right now, we have half a year, more than half a year left in 2024, but actually you only have as much time left as the time that you use. If you don't use this half a year, believe me, it's actually not even available to you. It's like you didn't have all those months that you thought you had because you ended up wasting them. So with all of this in mind, let's move on to the next slide and talk a little bit about what are some of the ways that you can maximize your productivity, right? Well, the first thing is time management, which is what today's session is going to be focusing on, right? You can learn how to optimally use the available hours in your day. All of us have 24 hours in our day. Nobody is born with extra hours in their day. Not one of us has 48, 72, 165. Nobody has that benefit. So everybody has the same amount of time. It's all about learning how to manage it. The second most important thing is task management. So knowing how to prioritize different tasks by setting manageable, achievable, trackable goals is something that also we are going to be talking about today, because time and task management go hand in hand. If you are excelling at time management, that means that you should also be excelling at task management. And if you are good at managing your tasks, that means you know how to prioritize your time commitments. The third thing that can help you maximize your productivity levels is building good habits, right? The art of consciously cultivating beneficial habits that lead to long term rewards. Now let me talk about this academically. What does this mean, these top three things? The first thing is, if you are a student who's in a high school or university level surrounding, it's really important for you to figure out how much time you even have available after your classes are done, right? Because all the time that you spend within the classroom is spent learning. All the time that you have outside the classroom that you are not spending sleeping during the night is the only time that you have available to utilize. So it's very important for you as a student, as a young professional, as a young entrepreneur, as a young future graduate of the United States to know how to really truly harness not just your time but also manage your tasks, and to engage in good habits that are going to help you become your future best self, right? If you are already practicing something as simple as nutritional eating, right? If you're consuming nutritious foods, if you're taking care of your physical health, if you're taking care of your mental health, if you're taking care of your emotional health, these are all good habits that will make sure that you become successful, not just in the future, but also today, right? In addition to this, it's also exhausting as a student or as a young professional to juggle everything. You've got your social life, you've got your academic commitments, you've got your professional commitments, right? And it's very hard to then also squeeze in some passions or some sports that you want to play. And this is where again maximizing your productivity levels comes in. Everything is important. You just need to figure out how to manage everything and how to juggle them effectively together. And that's where today's session hopefully will help you out. Number 4 is choosing the right surroundings. In order to be productive, it's so important for us to cultivate the right kind of surroundings. A lot of us are structured, our brains are structured in such a way that we find chaos to be kind of distracting, right? So it's very important that if you are a person who needs order and cleanliness and efficiency in your surroundings to work, that you make sure that your surroundings are the right environment and the right setting for you to be able to succeed. Right, so you should have a focused approach when it comes to cultivating the right surroundings, making sure you are in an environment where you are all set to thrive. Number 5 is obviously maintaining your physical health, right? The importance of staying active and getting ample amounts of exercise and sleep is so, so important. I just want to say one thing to all of you today. If you're sitting in this webinar right now, if you're attending this, if you're here with us, that means you are committed to your future, right? You are interested in investing in your future. You're interested in finding out new information. But the important thing to remember is if you don't take a break when you should, and if you overwork yourself or burn out or overexhaust yourself, your body will crash. Because at the end of the day, we are human beings and we are not designed to work like robots without any rest, right? So if you don't take that break, if you don't maintain your physical health, if you don't pay attention to your body's needs, whether it's nutritional needs or need for physical activity or need for sleep, right? A lot of us don't sleep. If you are going to ignore all of these things, your body will crash and it will force you to kind of take a break. And believe me, that break will not be at the time of your choice. So it's always better to take scheduled rest breaks and to make sure you are listening to your body and giving it the space that it needs to rest, to grow, and to be most fit and active, as opposed to forcing your body to withstand so many pressures or survive in such harsh conditions that it just shuts down. And that shutdown could happen in the middle of an exam. You could blank out. It could be you falling asleep on the morning of your exam and not being able to make it to your CIE. It happened to somebody I knew and it was very traumatizing. So you need to make sure that you are taking care of yourself, you are resting, you are keep being vigilant about your needs, and just giving your body the break that it needs in order to stay fully functional. And finally, the sixth most important thing that helps you maximize your productivity levels, right? Mental and spiritual well-being. So oftentimes we don't realize we're so focused on our academics and what we can see around us that we don't look within, right? And this is where introspection comes in. Introspection is so important, especially as students who are constantly in high pressure environments, or young professionals who are constantly being pushed to grow in their careers or to succeed. Or if you want to apply for your master's or PhD, then you're constantly being pushed to move on to the next step, or submit those applications, write those essays. It's so easy to put your mental and spiritual well-being on a back burner and just ignore it. But at the end of the day, if you are taking care of your mental and spiritual health, if you are taking break time out to pray or to rest, or to do some mental meditation exercises, yoga, anything that gives you a break, believe me, it will help you prevent burnout. It will stop you from getting demotivated, and it will keep you reinvigorated and motivated on the inside. It's inner peace. So make sure that you're looking at all of these things. There's so much more that we can add to this list, but these are the six main things that we would recommend you keep an eye out on when it comes to wanting to maximize your productivity levels and being your best, most productive self. Now, let's talk about the first one, which is time management. So, time management is basically the process of intentionally structuring your schedule to best serve your goals. What this means is that it requires you to strategically organize your tasks and maximize productivity. Good time management skills can help you in staying organized and taking control of your life. So, this is basically like saying that you are going to be sitting in the driving seat of your life and you are not going to let things happen to you. You are going to decide how and when your day is structured, right? So, you just need to figure out when to squeeze in which activity to ensure that you're doing it in the best possible way and you're getting everything done. Secondly, it improves your performance in school. It also helps you reduce anxiety regarding upcoming projects, assignments, CIE exams, any professional deadlines. It also helps you in successfully meeting long and short term goals. So, whether it is meeting your goal for today, which might be, I'll tell you my goal, for example, I need to go for a 1 hour walk. So, whether it's something as simple as going for a 1 hour walk a day to something which is a 5 month goal, like I want to learn how to speak French, or something which is a 5 year goal, which is I want to grow academically and professionally. So, whatever it is that you're interested in, time management is going to help you get to those goals and make progress in your future dreams, and just kind of get to where you want to see yourself in the future. Now, we mentioned something in the description of this event which is called time blocking. So time blocking is a really useful strategy that a lot of people use all over the world to help manage their time. So the idea is that you know that you start off at 24 hours, out of which ideally you should be sleeping for 8 hours. So it's simple mathematical calculations that if you take out those 8 hours, as you can see on the screen, you make a tiny schedule. Then you have to figure out how many hours a day are you spending in classes. So let's say you're in high school or university. If you are spending 5 hours a day in classes, that means now you have 11 hours left. Out of those 11 hours, how much time are you going to spend eating? So let's say you're having three meals for 40 minutes each, right? So you're spending 2 hours on eating. If you are spending 2 hours on eating, that means you have 9 hours left, right? Out of these 9 hours, how much time are you going to spend studying? So usually you should be spending 3 hours studying, but if you have the CIEs coming up, you could increase this time, right? So this could be uh this could be your free time. So you have 3 hours free, but if you have your CIEs coming up, you could reduce this to like 1 hour, 1.5 hour, whatever suits you. And then you have, let's say, 6 hours left if you're taking 3 hours of free time. Then you have to squeeze in your study time, which is also 3 hours. And then you have remaining 3 hours to study, rest, or play. And just like that, your entire day is over, right? So this is called reverse math. It's a reverse calculation. You start with how many hours you have in a day, and then you start blocking each time duration for each activity. And by doing this, what you end up doing is you add structure to your day. You make your day intentional. You make sure that you're getting everything done like you're supposed to. And you can actually take this one step further. So if you have 3 hours of study time on the schedule, you can actually decide how much time in those 3 hours you're going to spend on each subject. So you can do 1 hour of math, 1 hour of science, 1 hour of English, right? If you have a chemistry exam tomorrow, then you could do 2.5 hours of chemistry and only half an hour of physics for the next day, right? So this is something that you should definitely be using if you're not using this already. It's a great technique. It really works, and it really, really simplifies your entire time management process, right? So the second thing that you can see is their weekends, right? Weekends are an even better opportunity for you to truly harness your time and get all those things done that you can't get to during the week, because obviously during the week you have more commitments, you're busier. So weekends are the perfect time to actually get your attention to those tasks that you've been putting on the back burner, that you've been delaying, because they're not urgent and they're not that important. So again, on weekends, the biggest benefit is you don't have any classes, so you have those 5 extra hours to squeeze, and you can decide where you want to utilize those hours. You can use those for free time, for study time, for flexible time, whatever it is, for socializing, for meeting your family and friends, for taking some time out to study for the SAT, the ACT, the GRE, the GMAT, whatever it is that you're studying for. Study a foreign language like French or Spanish or Italian. or Chinese, whatever it is that you're interested in, and use that time like that by using time blocking techniques. Now, let's also look at the screen and look at the 5 steps that I've written down for you. The first step is you have to set internal customized deadlines that are sooner than the actual date. This is for all my procrastinators out there. If you are somebody who procrastinates and you always find yourself working at the 11th hour right before something is due, this is for you. Pretend that something is due sooner than it is actually due. If you pretend that your deadline is not May 31st, it's May 30th or May 10th, then it's going to give you 20, 10, 1 extra days to just kind of make sure you have that, leeway, that cushion, that if you don't finish that task, you still have time before the actual deadline. The second trick that you can use is you should give yourself small breaks after each task is successfully completed. So you know how little kids, their parents promise them that if you finish a small task, a homework assignment or something, I'll give you a piece of candy. Well, treat yourself like that child, and every time you finish a task, you should reward yourself. So this is called time rewards. This is called basically like just kind of celebrating your little wins when it comes to achieving something or completing something that has been on your agenda, right? The third important thing that you can do is you can mentally map out your day. So you can make a list of the most important tasks for that day. For example, for me, one of the most important tasks for today was this webinar. So I actually wrote this down in my planner that I have this webinar at 3 p.m. It's very important. I want to be prepared. I want to make sure everything is ready. So, just like that, you can write down the most important tasks and you can visualize your day on paper. It really helps and it gives you structure and it gives you an orderly outlook on how your day is going to look. The fourth thing that you can do is you can combine similar tasks to save time and energy. So let's say if you're interested in cooking and you're planning on making 2 meals, you can just make those 2 meals at the same time in the morning before leaving for work, and you can just save yourself time for the rest of the day because then you don't have to enter the kitchen anymore. Similarly, if you have any laundry that you have to do, right, you can just club your laundry together for 2 days and save time. Or you can just do similar tasks in the sense that if you have let's say you want to read a book and you also have to study for your exam, so you can give yourself a break after studying for your exam by keeping your reading and your studying together. And if you have to do any chores that are outdoors like getting groceries or meeting your friends at the mall or going for a coffee date, then you can do all of that at the same time. So you can do the groceries and you can go for coffee at the same time to make sure when you're out in your car you get everything that is related to the outdoors done, so that when you come home you don't have to step out again. So there are different things that you can do to combine similar tasks and save yourself some time and energy that would go into doing those things twice, right? And finally, step 5 is you can create a schedule of your typical day and assign tasks to all available hours. So the time blocking is basically step 5. This is what we were talking about how you can create a schedule and assign times to specific tasks to make sure that you can do that, right? Within that time frame. And you can also give specific hours to each task. So, for example, 3 p.m. could be the webinar, 4 p.m. could be take a small nap, 6 p.m. could be go out to play soccer, 10 p.m. could be bedtime. So, you can assign times as well to your hour blocking. Okay, now let's move on to task management, right? So, task management is a very, very important thing that is going to help you not just in your high school, not just in your university, but also in your professional and personal life, right? If you know how to manage your tasks, then you have basically learned how to conquer half of your entire agenda, right? But then the first step to managing tasks is to figure out what kind of a task you are dealing with, right? And then you can sort them into the following categories. Type 1, as you can see on the screen, there's a grid. Type 1 is the procrastinator, right? So this is urgent and important tasks. Type 2 is the prioritizer, which is not urgent but important. Type 3 is the yes man, right? Urgent but not important. And type 4 is the slacker. They're neither important nor urgent, right? Let's look at some examples. So, usually one would think that urgent and important is the best space to be. But actually, contrary to popular belief, it's actually you want to be aiming to become the prioritizer. Because if your task was important and it has become urgent, that means you did not handle it properly and you allowed it to become urgent until the last minute when you are freaking out and you now need to get it done under a very strict deadline. So this is basically a crisis situation. It's like your project report is due today, you haven't finished it, you haven't even started it maybe, and you are just running out of time, you're running out of energy, you're exhausted, you're stressed out, you don't have anything else that you can do because you're just focused on this one thing that has become urgent, and it was very very important, right? So last minute plans, meetings, these are all things that fall under this category, and this is where procrastination happens. Type 2 is you it was an important task but it's not urgent. This means that you still have time, but you have been planning this task, you have been setting goals, right? It could be a project report that's due in a week and you've already finished 80% of it. This is where you want to be in life. You want to prioritize things. You don't want them to become urgent because that means you have allowed too little time before the deadline and you haven't made enough progress. This works in relationships, right? This works on exercise, on self improvement. This works in every arena of life. So just focus on your important tasks and do them while you still have time. Don't let them become urgent. If they become urgent, that means you are too close to the deadline and now you have entered the crisis mode. Then we have the third type. These are urgent tasks, but they're not important at all, right? So this is like you have been piling up your dirty clothes for 3 weeks, and now you need to finish doing your laundry. But at the same time, you have a very important math exam tomorrow. So what's more important, the math exam or the laundry? If you are the yes man and your parents are saying, why don't you finish your laundry? They don't know there's a math exam tomorrow. And you're like, yes, I will finish my laundry right now. This means that you are wasting your time and you are not spending it on the right task, right? So these are unimportant phone calls. These are meeting other people's expectations. Your friends are having a hangout, they're going to watch a movie. You have the SAT tomorrow, okay? And you are saying, yeah, I'm going to come to the movie because they're putting pressure on you. Their exam has just ended. It's the weekend. They don't know that you have the SAT tomorrow and they're just pressuring you to please come for the movie. You know you should not go for that movie because you will be sleepy during the exam. You won't be able to focus. You'll be exhausted, but you still go, right? So this is again, if you're not able to say no, then this is the category you will fall in. And finally, we have the slacker. So this is not important and not urgent. You're just wasting your time. If there's something that is neither important nor urgent, like let me think of an example. What is something that's not important and not urgent? All right, this is like buying new cushions for your sofa. It's not important, it's not urgent. It doesn't matter if you don't buy them today, it doesn't matter if you don't buy them next week. But because you are trying to distract yourself from an urgent task, an important task, you are just going to procrastinate by going shopping. Right? You could have waited, so you could have instead of watching a show on Netflix, binge watching an entire series, you could have spent that time studying for your CI exam or working on some work deadline, work project, but you're just wasting your time. You're looking at the Met Gala pictures, you're browsing on Facebook, you're just going for a shopping spree, you're watching TV, anything to avoid doing your work. If this is the category you're in, you're basically falling in the slacker category. You definitely need to escape this because sooner or later it's going to come and it's going to make life very difficult for you. Right? And this is where building good habits comes in. So, as you can see on the screen, there are three important things when it comes to building good habits. The first is the power of discipline, right? This is a word that our parents tell us all our lives. Discipline, discipline, you need discipline. This is the driving force basically behind our lives, and it just makes us capable of making our own decisions. So, if you have a certain amount of discipline in your life, healthy discipline, it means you are in charge of your life. You've got everything together. If you've got a structure in your life, you know when everything is supposed to take place, when things are supposed to happen, how much time you need to spend doing the different things, and how to prioritize. The second important good habit to build is to map out your goals. Like I said, in order to pursue your goals, you first need to identify them, right? And then you need to plan them. You need to map them out in your head. You need to see yourself achieving those goals. So, writing them down on a piece of paper at the start of the day, whatever your goals are for that one day, for that one week, for that one month, will really help you achieve those goals and make progress towards becoming your future best self. And finally, number three is the best habit, having a positive outlook. Let's say you had an exam today and you didn't do so well, right? And you're really upset and you're really depressed and you're in a very dark space. Or let's say that you got scolded by your boss for something that you weren't able to do, right? Or you let something slide, you weren't able to meet a deadline. Remember, at the end of the day, you're a human being. You're capable of making mistakes, and it's okay to own your mistakes. It's okay if you mess up every once in a while. At the end of the day, just have a positive outlook about your current and future goals and understand that obstacles are inevitable. They will come. But what matters is that you move past them and you learn a lesson and you make sure you don't repeat the same mistakes in the future, right? So in addition to setting smart goals and having discipline, you also need to be resilient. You can't just give up at the first, difficulty. And you need to have the power to say yes to your most important tasks, right? And the power to say no to the less important things, or like distractions like social media, technological devices, peer pressure, and so on. So the power to say no and the power to say yes are equally important. And just don't give up easily, right? Just, hang in there, have faith, everything is going to work out, and just pick yourself up and move forward with renewed vigor and energy, that you are committed to achieving what you want, and you will get there, right? With more effort and more intentional input. And this is what smart goals are all about, right? Smart goals are basically specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time bound goals. What this means is your goals, when you set them, should be specific, right? You should set real numbers with real deadlines. So don't say things like, I have an Instagram page and I want more followers. You should say, I want 500 more followers in 3 months, so that you know what you are working towards. Second is measurable, right? You need to make sure that your goal is trackable. By saying that you want 500 more followers in 3 months, you are making sure that every week you can check, is my number of followers going up or is it not, right? The third thing is attainable. Say something that's something you can do. Don't set a goal that is too difficult, right? So it should be challenging, but it should still be possible. Don't make something impossible your goal, because that's just going to kind of dampen your spirits and really lower your motivation levels. Then you need to make sure your goal is realistic, right? Do you have that kind of reach? Can you even achieve this many followers? If your goal was, I want 1 million followers in 3 months, that's not realistic, right? So you have to be honest with yourself, know what you are capable of, know what your team can achieve, know what are your limitations, and don't forget that there will be challenges. And finally, you have to set a time limit. So don't just say, I want 500 followers, period, and not attach any time to it. Because if you don't give yourself a deadline, trust me, it's very hard to achieve that goal. So you need to make sure you're setting a realistic deadline also, and that you keep pushing yourself to go, steadily towards that deadline and work towards meeting that goal before the deadline arrives. All right. Now let's talk about surroundings. It's so important to have the right surroundings when you are trying to manage your tasks and your time in an efficient manner. And this is why it's so important to cultivate the right environment that is conducive to learning. Now, remember, all of us are different individuals and we all have different preferences. Some of us are visual learners. We need to see in order to learn. Some of us are auditory learners. We need to speak our notes. We need to read out loud in order to be able to retain that information and memorize things. And some of us need to touch, right? So we are sensory learners, which means that we need to have our textbook in our hand or have our notes in our hand and really, like, use that iPad and that pencil to, write down stuff to be able to remember things. Whether you are a visual learner, whether you are a sensory learner, whether you are an auditory learner, you just need to know what is your preferred learning method and how can you create an environment where you can truly be most effective and most efficient in terms of learning and thriving and planning and making your goals happen. So first thing is, you should have a designated study space where you do all your work. This could be a desk in your room, this could be a space in your house. When I was in middle school, I used to actually use our drawing room as the space that I used to go to do all my reading. So all my reading, all the deep, deep work mode that I wanted, everything used to just happen there because nobody would go into that room unless there were guests there. So that was my space. The second important thing to remember is there should be no distractions when you are trying to work on something. So if you're trying to study for the SAT, the ACT, the GRE, or any other test, your CIEs, you need to make sure your cell phone and televisions are all turned off, they're on mute, they're not ringing again and again. and there's no distractions, right? Thirdly, you can't sit in a very noisy space if you're trying to do focused work. So if you're trying to plan your next 5 months, let's say, or if you're trying to apply to different colleges in the US and you're trying to plan which universities to apply to, then you have to make sure you're sitting in a quiet environment where there's no noise, right, from external sources. The fourth thing is you need to figure out when you are most productive. Some of us are night owls, right? And some of us are larks. So if you're a night owl, if you thrive late at night, that's when you become alert and active, and that's when your brain is really, working at its best capacity. Then you should choose those hours, those late night hours, as your most productive hours. And if you're a morning person like me, if you like to wake up early in the morning and you want to, utilize those hours after the Fajr prayers, before you start your day, then you can go ahead and use that time and block that in your schedule for the best, most challenging tasks, most important tasks of your day, right? For planning those. And finally, you need to minimize interruptions by sharing your study hours or your focused hours with your family and friends. So if you live with your parents and with your family, with your siblings, and you know that there's an important task that you need to do, some important project that you need to work on, an important meeting that you need to attend, then you should let them know, the people that you're living with, that by the way, I have this commitment. I'm not going to be available between, let's say today, 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. So please don't reach out to me during that time because I will be in this webinar or in this activity, right? So that they know that you are not to be disturbed during those hours. All of this will help you become your most productive, most optimal self in terms of utilizing your time and managing your tasks efficiently. Now let's talk about maintaining your physical health, right? The first most important thing is that you need to strike a balance between your educational and physical needs. You can't just be an excellent student while neglecting your own physical health. You need to also understand that if you are not taking care of your physical, health and your body's needs in terms of food, rest, and sleep, then you are just setting yourself up for a disaster. So you need to understand your body's limitations. You need to take breaks between long study hours. If you've been studying for 5 hours, you should be taking breaks in between, because if you just walk around a little bit, it gives oxygen to the brain. It makes your brain wake up and really become alert again. Right? We have limited attention spans. You should not try to push yourself at a stretch for 6, 7, 8 hours studying nonstop without even getting up and moving. The second thing is you should address your body's needs by getting enough exercise. So schedule a workout, go for a run, just walk outside, do something, right? Anything to move and become active and send oxygen to your brain and really get it working again, right? Because it's very easy to just kind of fall asleep and go into a lull if you are not taking breaks. And finally, you need to replenish your body, give your body the time that it needs to kind of reinvigorate itself and reset itself by sleeping. These days we don't value sleep enough, right? So we need to make sure that we are sleeping the recommended number of hours as per the best psychologists and the best nutritionists and the best physical trainers. And we need to eat healthy, take a nap if we need to, kind of take a break. We need to refuel and energize our body and mind to make sure that we are at our best performance levels, right? Now let's talk about something else that you can do: mental and spiritual well-being. So if this is something that you can relate to, that you are a person who not only is ignoring their physical health but is also not taking care of their mental and spiritual health, then guess what? There are times when you will feel overwhelmed. You could feel stressed out, you could panic, right? You could have a mental breakdown, or you could have an emotional breakdown, or you could just kind of freeze because you are so overwhelmed by the amount of things that you have to achieve in a very short amount of time. If that's how you're feeling, if you're going into crisis mode, if you are freezing up because you are overwhelmed by the number of deadlines and actions that you have to complete, then the first thing that you can do is talk to a friend. Right? This is really going to help you. Sometimes all it takes to regain control of a situation is a heart to heart with your best friend. So just call your friend and share with them. Right? Otherwise, you can also eat some food. If you're feeling overwhelmed, sometimes replenishing your body by ordering your favorite food or making a bowl of instant noodles is really going to be all the comfort that you need to get out of that crisis zone and go back to being your usual in control self. Thirdly, if you think that you're feeling overwhelmed, you can also take a break. So take a time break, listen to music, or just watch one episode of your favorite show, something that you've already seen before. So it's it's nothing new that's going to distract you from your studying. It's just going to be something old that's just a distraction, a break from your studies, just to make you, feel calm and in control and help you regain your composure. Fourthly, you can sleep it off, right? You'd be surprised at the wonders that a good, restful nap can do. So, if you think that you're too overwhelmed and you're not capable of studying even one more word, just take a brief nap. Tell your mother, tell your sibling that I'm just going to sleep for like 40 minutes. Please wake me up in 40 minutes and just set an alarm and go to sleep. Trust me, it can really help you energize and it can really help you reset your brain. You can also go for a walk. Changing your surroundings helps put things in perspective. So go for a walk to the nearest park or to the grocery store, or even in the boundary area around your house, or within the room or in the hallway, wherever you can walk. Sometimes just leaving that space and physically removing yourself from those surroundings will help you regain control of a situation. You can also say a prayer. So if this is something that helps you, take a break, read a prayer or say a dua or do some zikr or whatever it is that helps you to, kind of get some external divine intervention that's much needed, right? You can also make your brain like actually just stop your thoughts and pause them and rewire your thoughts, reframe your thoughts to become more positive. So positive affirmations can help you redirect your train of thought. It can really help you move in a different direction. So if your brain is in panic mode, if it's just freaking out, you can just stop your thought process, be like, no, I am going to finish this course tonight and nothing is going to stop me. I can do this. I have done this in the past. I can do this again. And saying something like that can really help you believe what you are saying and help you achieve what you are trying to do. Another thing that you can do is breathe deeply. Sometimes we don't realize we're storing all this stress inside our body and we physically forget to breathe, or we are physically under so much stress that our hand starts hurting or our head starts hurting, we get a migraine, our body physically starts breaking down. So just close your eyes, take deep breaths, and just calm yourself down by breathing deeply. A little bit of structured breathing can really help you get out of that situation. And finally, meditate. So you can just pull up a meditation video on YouTube and just follow the steps on the screen to really make sure you are coming back to the present, a moment, bringing yourself to the here and now and reminding yourself that this is just a moment, it's going to pass, it's going to be all right, and you are going to be just fine. And this brings us to mindfulness. Mindfulness is a way of living in the present moment. It helps you become aware of the unpleasant thoughts and emotions that you might have, right? So it helps eliminate stress and negative indicators. What this uses is it uses breathing to anchor the mind and maintain awareness. So it's a conscious effort to connect your body with your mind. Another thing that you can do is you can note a particular thought or feeling when you become distracted, and you can start working on it in order to become aware and condition your mind and body to work around it. So if you know there is one particular thought which always puts you into a spiral, then you can just write that thought down, put an exclamation mark next to it, and remind yourself that no, every time I think of this thought, it puts me in a negative spiral. So I refuse to give in to the power, and I refuse to, just kind of let this thought overpower me or overwhelm me. And finally, you can think about people who bring you happiness and focus on those happy memories and those moments to reflect and show gratitude towards yourself and others. Because at the end of the day, remember, there's so many people who love you so very much. There are people who you love so very much, and you've got some wonderful memories to go and rely on. You've achieved so much in your life already. There have been difficult moments that you have overcome, and you can overcome any challenge that life is going to throw at you as long as you are intentional about it and you are reminding yourself to be compassionate, not just towards others but towards yourself. On that note, here's a slide that you can take a picture of. It has the link to a YouTube video. Small request, after today's webinar, if you have 5 minutes to spare, please go ahead and do this meditation exercise. It's going to help you feel more connected to the present and feel more calm and in control with your surroundings and with everything else that is going on. If there's anything that's stressing you out, that does bring us to the end of the presentation. I am going to now take the questions that you have posted in the Q&A box, and I'm also going to share our email with you if you have any further queries that you want addressed that you want to email us about. All right. One of these is thank you so much for the session. Thank you. You can get the recording. Yes, we will be posting the recording of today's session on our Facebook and YouTube pages in the coming days. So just stay, tuned, and you will be able to access the recording. All right, another person, very informative webinar. Can you please share the recording with me? Of course, like I said, we will be sharing the recording of today's webinar on our Facebook and YouTube pages. So please just feel free to refresh the page in the coming days and you should be able to access it. Once again, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to attend today's webinar. I hope you found it successful, you found it useful, and that it helps you become more successful. I have a last question that I'm taking. I'm preparing for the GRE exams, taking it in July. How can we help you in this manner? Okay, great. You could just send us an email. We have a lot of GRE related, preparation related resources. We'll send you the links to our GRE sessions that we've done in the past. We can send you some links to free GRE practice tests that you can take. We can sort of send you a planner that you can use to help prepare for your GRE on your own end between now and July. It's kind of like the time blocking technique that I mentioned. So please send us an email at karachi@educationusa.org and we will be more than happy to assist you. All right. Thank you so much, everyone. I'm so glad that you liked the webinar. Take care of yourselves. Hope you have a wonderful weekend. And please try to incorporate all the things that we talked about today into your daily schedules to become your best, most successful selves. Take care. Thank you. Goodbye.